Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to look at Alcremie VMAX, and I suppose would be slightly rude if we didn't have a look at Alcremie V as well. I should mention, of course, that as has become somewhat customary, our translation here comes from the lovely Antoine Boulet. And if we start off having a little bit of a look at the basics here, we can see 170 HP, which is abysmal. Like, this is as low as it gets. This is as low as we see. We can look at something like more Pico, for instance, and it's sitting there with 170. It's really bad. Not a fan. And also, the HP is terrible because of Pikachu and Zekrom. Remember, the residual damage from Blacephalon-GX does 170 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. This is one of the very, very few Pokemon V that will be KO'd by that. That is just bad, ladies and gentlemen. Now, elsewhere in terms of the basic stats here, we've got a retreat cost of 2, which at least gives access to Air Balloon. And we've got no resistance and a weakness to metal, bearing in mind that Zacian is one of the best cards in the game. I suppose the only real saving grace is that this is so weak, it's getting easily one-hit KO'd anyway. Although, to be fair, there's only like 2 Pokemon V that can take a hit from Zacian. So, frankly, we're not loving the basics. You are a Psychic Pokemon, which means weakness on Mewtwo and Mew, which is good. That's still a good card, still seeing play. But post-rotation, we're losing Mysterious Treasure, we're losing Spell Tag, we're losing Malamar. So, pretty much all the good Psychic tricks that have made Psychic so fun are going away. I'm not loving the basics here at all. Now, the first attack, 1 Psychic Energy, heal 30 from each of your bench Pokemon. Okay, that's fine. Except, we're getting a Milotic in the next set. And Milotic has an ability that heals 20 damage from all of your Pokemon benched and active. And it's an ability, not an attack, so you can still attack. And it's on a single prize Pokemon, not a 2 prize Pokemon. And it helps the active as well. It's just, yeah. Sorry, I don't... If you're using this attack, something's gone wrong. There was a time when we were all playing Tapu Koko, and Tapu Koko would deal 20 damage to each of your Pokemon, and then an attack like this would heal it. Those days are gone. Now, the second attack, heal 1 Psychic, 2 Colorless Energy, and you do 100 damage. And if the defending Pokemon is a basic Pokemon, it cannot attack during your opponent's next turn. Now we're on to something. Now we're good. Except this is not Obstagoon. A lot of you are going to look at this and go, oh, it's Obstagoon. It's not Obstagoon. You see, there is a gigantic difference between this and Obstagoon. Bearing in mind, Obstagoon did get top 4 at the Oceania International Championships and has proven to be a phenomenal deck. The difference is Obstagoon attacks and gets immunity from all basic Pokemon. So if you're against a deck like Blacephalon or Pikachu and Zekrom, you attack and none of their Pokemon can hit you. They can gust something up off the bench using something like Boss's Orders and KO that, but that just kicks the can down the road. It doesn't solve the problem. It is not the same with Alcremie here. The thing with Alcremie is it only stops the defending basic Pokemon attacking. So if your opponent switches or retreats to a new Pokemon, even a basic, they can go ahead and attack you. Now, there are going to be plenty of times your opponent just can't. They don't have a switch. And attacks like this, might I suggest using something like Galamine, and it's not the first time I've mentioned this card lately. Not the first time I mentioned it today. Because if you're basically saying to your opponent you can't attack, Galamine increases their retreat cost by 2, pretty much guarantees they're not going to be retreating. And now they need to either switch or they can't attack. And you'll get cheeky KOs with this. You'll be against a Zacian and you'll hit it for 100 damage, and then they won't be able to retreat, and if they don't have a switch, you're going to get a KO. Although you're going to need to have a Vitality Band or else it's going to be a free hit KO, and that's kind of embarrassing. So, yeah. It's all getting a little bit awkward. I do like this attack for buying yourself a little bit of time, cheeky KOs, etc. But 100 damage is not high. So the issue we've got here is that you're probably free-hit KOing a lot of the bigger basic Pokemon. And if they draw a switch in that time, you're kind of in trouble. Now, moving over into the VMAX, we go up to 310 HP, which is still super low, but hey, it's more than Morpeko. You're up to a retreat cost of 3, so now you need an extra energy to retreat with Air Balloon, so cheers for that. And you've still got the same weakness to metal, except it is now super relevant, because now Zacian is going to take 3 prizes, and that's very sad. But you do gain some extra attacks. Now, the first attack I do really like, but I worry you're going to end up giving up prizes. You see, for a single colourless energy, for each of your bench Pokemon, search your deck for a psychic energy and attach it to that Pokemon. And I like this. You can essentially have 6 bench Pokemon out, and this gets 6 energy onto your field. Time was we'd be playing Xerneas, and Xerneas would get 2 energy, and that was really good. Now, that was also on a basic single prize Pokemon, not an evolved free prize Pokemon. That is very important to point out. But if you can get this attack off, and that is a big if, but if you can get this attack off, you basically set yourself up for the game. Now back to the if. Because you're a free prize Pokemon, you got low HP for a VMAX, and the fact of the matter is, it is kind of likely, honestly, that you're at least going to get 2-hit KO'd here. You use this attack, you get hit, and then you get hit again and you're KO'd, you give up 3 prizes. I kind of see this like Arceus and Alga and Palkia. If I can get the first hit against an Arceus and Alga and Palkia, they can use their GX attack, but then I'm going to get 3 prizes off them. But then they take an extra prize every time they take a KO for the rest of the game, so it may well be worth it. I see this very similar to that. Pokemon that gives up 3 prizes, attack that really just sets you up for the game rather than taking KOs. But is it as good as Arceus and Alga and Palkia's attack? No. But that might not matter. It might still work. And at the end of the day, you need to be able to make that decision. You need to be able to look at the board of you and your opponent and go, right, it is too risky to use this attack, or, you know what, I can do it. And the fact of the matter is, you go first, your opponent has 1 turn, and then you evolve single energy, boom, 6 energy onto the field. And if your opponent doesn't have a nuts turn 1, you'll probably get away with it. But the reason this first attack exists is for the second attack. The second attack, 2 psychic energy, discard any number of energy from your Pokemon, that is any of your Pokemon, not just Alcremie. This attack does 60 for each energy card discarded. And that can build up extremely quickly. Now, the lovely Antoine Boulet did put out a second tweet about this, making extremely clear that it is energy card, not energy. So, for instance, a twin energy would be 60, not 120. Triple acceleration would be 60, not 180. If you could use this with triple acceleration energy to do an extra 180 damage super easily, that would be nuts. But it does not work, unfortunately. It is energy card. It is not energy. That is really, really important. So the theory here, very simply, is let's get loads of energy onto the field and then let's smash. It works in a very similar manner to what we've seen with Blacephalon, except you are discarding, not lost zoning, and it's 60 rather than 50, but it's a free prize Pokemon rather than a 2 prize Pokemon. Still, Blacephalon was good. Why would this not be good? Well, here's the thing. When I'm looking at Blacephalon and I'm trying to get energy on the field, I can use Welder. Attach 2 energy, draw 3 cards. Yay! And I can use Beast Ring to search my deck for 2 basic energy and attach them to one of my Pokemon. As long as my opponent's got exactly 3 or 4 prizes remaining. Yay! And I can use Naganadel to get another energy onto the field. Yay! Naganadle's rotating. and Malamar is rotating. And why are we getting this now? In a world where we still had Naganadel and we still had Malamar, I could look at this and go, yeah, no, it's actually super easy to accelerate psychic energy. This is going to be awesome. But the fact of the matter is, it's not super easy to accelerate psychic energy anymore. And that's upsetting. Yeah, sure, we've got amazing rare Jirachi, which will let you search your deck for 7 energy and attach them to your Pokemon. And that does use psychic energy, but you also need a fighting and a metal. Sure, you could use Tapu Koko Prism Star, that would get 2 energy onto the field, that's an extra 120 damage, but then you're adding in lightning energy, which is super awkward. Yeah, we've got the first attack, which can get 6 energy onto the field, but there's going to be plenty of games where using that attack essentially gives up a KO and puts Surprise Race out of your favour. This is a really, really good attack if you can get lots of energy onto the field. Now, it is important that it is energy, not psychic energy, so maybe you use this in a Porygon Z deck. And of course, the reason why Porygon Z is so gosh darn good for this, I know I talk about it a lot, but there's so many good things about it lately. But it's really important to realize that you've got recycle energy. So you discard them and then they go straight back to your hand, and that's an extra 240 guaranteed next time. And maybe recycle energy is the play here. Maybe Porygon Z, recycle energy, Alcremie VMAX could be amazing. Sure, you're talking a stage 2 and a VMAX, but it would solve the energy problem and would basically mean you're one-hit KOing anything, and you could play it with a bunch of Aurora energy and just tech any card you like into your deck, like, for instance, that Raikou we looked at yesterday, or a couple of days ago, that does 120 to the active and 120 to one of the bench. And I think if you're playing like a Porygon Z deck, this can work. In expanded with stuff like Malamar, this can work. This looks like it's Blacephalon's attack, and it is actually a better version of Blacephalon's attack, because it's 60 times, because it's not lost zoned, etc. But actually, it does not have the support that Blacephalon had, and it's just awkward. I like the attack that shuts down basic Pokemon from Alcremie, but I don't like that my opponent can just switch out of it. I like this big attack on Alcremie VMAX, but I don't like that I don't have good ways to accelerate energy. Then, of course, we look at it and it's got probably the worst basic stats of any VMAX we've seen so far, or V and VMAX combination, and it's just awkward. I do incidentally think there's a lot of potential here. I do think people are going to play this and use the good attacks from both of these cards to make a monster deck, and I do think something like Porygon Z Recycle Energy could be nuts with this. But this is one of those awkward cards where basically everything about it just has some kind of awkward downside, and that makes me sad. I'm still giving it between 3 or 4 Wassies, and I honestly would not be, we don't give half Wassies, that would be barbaric, would not be surprised to see this starting to take down tournaments in the future. But I look at this card at the moment with everything we're losing, and I just don't think it's got enough support to make the most of the attacks it's got. But I would be very excited to hear how you feel about it, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice, and then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.